Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar, Building a Paperless Bookkeeping Workflow with Hubdoc, Fujitsu ScanSnap, as well as special guest, Jennie Moore. My name is Geoffrey. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Hubdoc, and I'll be your co-host for today's webinar. And I'm joined by Jennie Moore, longtime Hubdoc partner and friend. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jennie.
Oh, thank you for having me, Geoffrey.
So before we jump into today's content, we're going to quickly go over a few housekeeping notes. We've got a few questions so far up to this point about the webinar and if there's going to be a recording. The answer is definitely yes. So keep an eye on your inbox. We'll be sending that to you shortly in the coming days. This is going to be an interactive webinar. As your co-host, I'll be asking Jennie a lot of questions, and I'll also be filtering all the questions that you're asking from home and or from your office to Jennie, so please ask them in the GoToWebinar control panel. And last but not least, you'll notice that we are streaming video. Hello. So to ensure the best possible viewing experience, we'd highly recommend that you close any unnecessary applications. Another exciting part of today's webinar is that we will be giving away a Fujitsu ScanSnap IX 1500 at the end of the webinar. The only thing that you need to do to qualify is to make sure that you are still online when we complete the draw. So we have Victoria and Carly who is online, who is going to randomly pick our lucky winner for today's session. We also have Vaughn online from Fujitsu ScanSnap. Thanks for joining us, Vaughn, who is going to be available in the chat and support us with any more technical questions throughout the webinar. Great, so now to talk about today's topic, what are we going to discuss? So first and foremost, we're going to talk about how to introduce and onboard your bookkeeping clients to new hardware. We're going to do that through a few stories that Jennie is going to provide us with as we kind of get a little bit more context around her practice and how she was able to successfully implement Fujitsu ScanSnap and Hubdoc. How to help paper-based small business clients go paperless. Sometimes this can feel like a massive feat, especially if they're used to the old way of doing things. Jennie, who's had a ton of experience in flipping small businesses, is going to be a really helpful resource as we talk about this journey. And then last but not least, into the more tactical tips and tricks side of things, how to streamline your document workflow and increase bookkeeping efficiency with Hubdoc and Fujitsu ScanSnap. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking because obviously everyone here wants to hear from Jennie, a practitioner who's actually utilizing these solutions within her practice. I'm going to start to ask Jennie some key questions. And I think before we actually dive into the tactical tips and tricks, it's going to be helpful for us to get a little bit more context from Jennie and her practice about how she started, how this all came to be, and where we are today. So Jennie, to that end, do you mind talking to us a little bit about the origin story of more details?
Absolutely, certainly, Geoffrey. So we started out with a traditional mindset. I had left corporate life to be closer to my young family at the time. And frankly thought that running my own business was easier. I think we all know as practitioners, it is a challenge, especially if you have young children underfoot as well. So what was available to me at that time were traditional, what I would call traditional methods. So using desktop products, leveraging paper as a means of communication, having to travel to clients to transfer information back and forth, exchanging checks. I like to say that I felt like more of a nanny to my clients' paperwork than I did to a mom to my own children during that time frame. It was just a kind of a rough sort of way of doing things. And looking back on that 13 years ago when we started, it's so different compared to how we operate today. And really today, what we've done is adopted cloud technology in our practice. We no longer go to clients, but we meet with clients all the time. Some of them I've never met face to face, but virtually face to face I have. We leverage hardware like the Fujitsu ScanSnap and different types of cloud applications like Hubdoc and Xero, et cetera, to bring the bookkeeping story online and collaborate together so that we're all reading from the same book. And that really is quite revolutionary from those initial days. And I get asked quite a lot, what was that journey like? What was that transition like? And it was actually, I want to say it was a relief because at the end of the day, what we were looking at in that traditional workflow is I was looking to sell the practice and go and obtain a full-time job working for someone else. So really, cloud technology is what saved our practice and allowed me to be where I am today, which I'm very thankful for.
I love that origin story, especially kind of how you identified a few key challenges within the practice, but you found a way to resolve them. And one of the ways was adopting cloud accounting technology to automate some of the manual paper-based processes.
Mhm.
But what other changes and decisions did you have to make to successfully go fully cloud and paperless? So I'm thinking here things like pricing. Did you choose a particular niche? Did you standardize tech stack, so on and so forth?
Oh, yes. I mean, we revolutionized everything that we were doing. We literally took a practice and turned it upside down and spun it around. And what we did during that time frame is we analyzed everything we were doing, everything from our pricing to the clients we were engaging with, to the technology we were using. And for anybody that is a parent, I think you understand how important it is to be resourceful and how you spend your time. And that's literally what it came down to. We analyzed everything to make sure that it was providing us with the output to minimize time and maximize profits as much as possible. So with that, everything changed. Everything except the core principles of bookkeeping. Absolutely everything changed. So yes, our client base, how we define our clients changed. Who we were going to work for changed. Are we going to leverage checks moving forward, which is very big still in North America, unlike our Australian counterparts? No, we weren't going to leverage checks anymore for any clients. We were going to use electronic transfers, uh, adopting team members, so virtual team members to work and help with us virtually. And then, of course, the appetizing text stack sandwich had to change too. So we were no longer using those desktop platforms. We were leveraging the tech stack. And I'd love to go deep into either one of those subjects, whichever one you choose.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to go a little bit deeper. But there is one question, so one of the things that you talked about. So it sounds like a really big change management endeavor.
Mhm.
What came first? Was before you started to take on virtual staff members, before you made those process decisions, did you start with the process or did you start with the technology stack?
I started with the technology because that's what I was most frustrated with. I was respectfully leveraging multiple desktop platforms,
Hmm.
and I did not feel that remotely hosting the products was going to work in my best interest or that of the client. I'm sure it works well for several people, and I'm not saying it doesn't, but it started with the technology frustration that I knew things could be better. And I had this, how would you say at that time, this cute little iPhone that came out and all these apps and Facebook. And I'm like, well, listen, if we can do this on the social side, why can't we do this in the financial technology side? So I really started pushing back and going, there must be more answers out there than what I'm currently presented with. And at that time is when, the core FMS system started coming out. So things like Xero and QuickBooks Online. And we adopted those with much hunger and learned as much as possible. And eventually what we did is we reached this sort of teeter-totter point. We still had some clients on desktop, and I was still going to their places to exchange paperwork. And then I had this whole practice going online. And it did come to this point where I had to jump 2 feet forward into the cloud space and find, unfortunately, some of my clients, a traditional bookkeeper that they felt comfortable with moving forward. I had to say goodbye to some long-term relationships in order to push forward to where I was. So definitely it was the technology, and then the processes is what developed afterwards.
Awesome. And just to be a little bit tactical here, do you mind
Mhm.
providing insight in what your current technology stack is today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, it really comes down to the technology that the client needs. So, we deal with high value clients that have different unique needs. So, they're not all restaurants, or they're not all change management firms, or they're not all engineers. So, with different industry types come different types of technology through CRMs. So, sometimes it gets a little unique handling that. But what we like to call is our cornerstone apps. So we have core apps that are non-negotiable when it comes to onboarding our clients. So obviously Hubdoc is one of them because we need a good receipt capture application. We also need to make sure we're getting source documentations such as their bank statements and all those other good things as well. That's really the key thing to making sure that we're able to streamline all processes. But that's just one part. Sorry, Geoffrey at Hubdoc. You're just one tiny little corner of the bookkeeping scope, and so we
Well,
need other apps, right? I may not get that batch of cupcakes I was warming you up for if I didn't say you were the full scope, but I'd be lying, right? So once we adopted Hubdoc, we started looking at, okay, what are other pain points? So, did we know all of our pain off the bat? No, because you just get in that situation where you're feeling so much that it's difficult to pinpoint everything. So once we were able to streamline the receipt capture side, we realized the full payables workflow needed to be fixed. We needed to issue money. So things like Pluto came in to disperse funds for our clients, as well as pay things like Canada Revenue Agency and collect money as well. And then payroll came in as well. We needed a really strong payroll application, so that ended up being WagePoint. And then we had some other core workflow apps as well. But those are I would say the three, how would you say, like the cornerstone, if you're looking at a triangle, the three must-haves in order to start. And of course, what's in the very middle are things like Xero to house all that information together tightly.
got it. And for our American audiences, there were probably a few applications there that you heard that might not be as well known in the United States, but Pluto, I would say the most comparable thing in the United States would be something like a bill.com, and
Hmm.
then WagePoint as a payroll solution in Canada, that would be something like Gusto in the United States.
Exactly.
And what's great about these technology stacks is that they all integrate quite seamlessly with one another. So utilizing tools like Hubdoc or Xero or Fujitsu ScanSnap as part of a workflow that includes either the tech stack that Jennie just talked about, which includes Pluto and WagePoint, or Gusto and Bill.com, like it's all the same. They all interconnect, and you can create your own customized workflow and your own customized tech stack. But Jennie, actually, it's a really great segue into the next question. Speaking of receipt capture,
Mhm.
discovering Hubdoc and Fujitsu ScanSnap, do you mind talking to us about how you came to find out about these solutions? And then also, this might be a contentious question, but which one
Okay.
came first?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Vaughn, he's going to love this from Fujitsu, and Jeffrey's not going to like this so much. So I go way back with Fujitsu, and I don't even. This is definitely not in production anymore. It was the S510. So I'm getting really nerdy right now, and everybody at Fujitsu is probably going, "What? You use the S510?" It was like a scanner, didn't have cloud technology, but it was a high-speed scanner, and it was cute. The reason why I needed it is because at the time we were doing a lot of tax preparation. And so in Canada, having to make sure, and of course, the same in the US for my US friends, you have to make sure you have the supporting documentation. So for us, it's childcare receipts, medical receipts, all these darn little pieces of paper that my multifunction machine was chewing up like cupcakes. I decided getting a Fujitsu scanner was the key. So it really came first. Sorry, Geoffrey. But when cloud technology decided to visit Canada and stay, it's the visitor I love that has stayed here. That's when working with Hubdoc, we started to see how they were working with different types of hardware sets, and we were so ecstatic that Fujitsu was joining a partnership with Hubdoc because we knew the technology behind it. We knew the accuracy of that scanner, that it doesn't jam, and it provides really clear images. And we knew the Hubdoc side. We knew that the OCR that was there, that it was just finally a match for some of our clients that still required a scanner to give us documents.
Absolutely. And it's probably worth noting, So your relationship with Fujitsu ScanSnap started quite some time ago to solve probably a key pain point, which is dealing with too much paper. And Hubdoc also helps in that receipt capture and document capture part of the workflow. And when those two tools came together, it obviously took that to the next level. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that Hubdoc does have an integration with Fujitsu ScanSnap Cloud, and that includes the Fujitsu ScanSnap IX100, Fujitsu ScanSnap IX500, and the Fujitsu ScanSnap IX1500. So Jenny, my next question to you is, I don't think you've aged yourself at all when you talked about the original model of the scanner that you were using, but today, fast forward to today, which scanners are you using with which clients?
Absolutely. So we actually kind of have a mix. So when we say clients, like we have consulting clients and we have managed services clients. So some clients we just recommend a product for. So right now it's really anything that's being supported. So the IX100 is a little tiny, I should have brought it here to hold it up. It's a little tiny scanner. It's really cute. I'm sure Fujitsu, you don't like it being called cute, but it just is. It's cute, it's battery operated, it works on Wi-Fi. It's great for the salespeople. So things like mortgage agents, real estate agents, anybody that needs to capture receipts on the go. What's lovely, you can build that integration. It goes right into Hubdoc. We do have the older generation IX 500 still in use for some of our nonprofit organizations, and that's working out really well. But we are really liking the IX 1500 because of its advanced technologies and being able to have more integrations right from the hardware as well. So those three are the ones being used actively today within our practice here, but also at our client locations as well.
Got it. And it's probably helpful for us to go over the workflow that you just outlined pretty perfectly about how these two solutions come together. So you had mentioned that depending on the client that you're working with, they'll have a different model of the ScanSnap scanner, and they'll also be using Hubdoc for receipt capture. And for those in the audience probably wondering, okay, well what does this all mean? How does it all look? We'll go through it at a high level, but effectively, your clients are working every day, processing transactions, whether they're making payments or they're receiving bills. What Hubdoc and Fujitsu do is that they come together to automate the collection of those documents, to automate the data entry of those documents, and to automate the transaction creation in your general ledger software, whether that's Xero or QuickBooks Online. So if you look at it holistically, if a transaction happens on your client side, they can either use Hubdoc to quickly snap a picture of a receipt or a bill using their mobile device, desktop, email, and or if they're dealing with a lot of paper, they can quickly scan it using the Fujitsu ScanSnap IX100, 500, or 1500, and that'll all show up into Hubdoc. Regardless of how it shows up into Hubdoc, we use machine learning and optical character recognition to extract all of the key information from those documents. So think things like supplier name, invoice number, due date, total amount, so on and so forth. Hubdoc also has a unique technology that's called auto fetch, which allows you to connect to hundreds of financial institutions, utilities, telecom providers, and online suppliers, and establish a connection for Hubdoc to start to automatically fetch documents, things like bills, receipts, or statements, as soon as they become available on those online portals. Once a connection has been established, Hubdoc will fetch the documents as soon as they become available. So introducing another layer of automation in your document capture workflow. Once Hubdoc has the documents and we've extracted all of the key information with our integrations into cloud accounting software like QuickBooks Online, Xero, Bill.com, we allow you to quickly and easily code and categorize the document from within Hubdoc and then post it as an accurately coded transaction within one of those applications with the source document attached, allowing you to automate things like bank reconciliation, payment processing, and also audit proofing, because every reconciled or paid transaction now has a source document attached. So, Jenny, I know this is quite conceptual and quite theoretical, but is this actually how it happens in real life?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what's great about the different tools that you've laid out here, the different functions, the different processes of how information gets into the web portal for Hubdoc can be used different ways. So the way I try and encourage accounting professionals to look at technology is think outside of the box, right? So how we use this process doesn't have to be standardized for one particular client set. Think of the needs when you're having a client conversation about what their pain points are. So, for instance, for some of my clients, they may have a respective disability where it's difficult for them to manage a handheld device to take a picture of a receipt. But if we install the scanner at their location, and maybe it could be just as simple as somebody that's not comfortable with technology, that's all they need to do is just put a piece of paper in the scanner and press one button. And it goes into Hubdoc and we can carry on our way. Another thing to look at it is look at the restaurant and hotel industry. We've been able to successfully install a piece of hardware, a scanner, in the kitchen. And that is where a lot of business transactions take place for the restaurant industry. Now, obviously, you don't want to put it right beside the grill. It's not a good place to put a scanner. But as long as it's within a Wi-Fi range or an access point, as the deliveries are coming in the door is usually when the receipt is present. The chef or the short order cook puts it through the scanner, presses a button, and we know that we're always going to have that information. It doesn't walk off. And if anybody is familiar with a restaurant kitchen, it is a very busy place.
Mm.
So think outside of the box when you have technology like this. Your clients may not use every single process that's here, but one particular process you can capitalize on it to save their pain point.
That's awesome. And Jenny, being somebody that kind of went through the transition from paper-based workflows to digital cloud accounting workflows, I want to throw a few stats your way and let me know if this feels accurate. So there's been a ton of research that's been done within the North American industry to say that roughly 30% of an accountant or a bookkeeper's time is spent collecting documents and doing manual data entry. Would you say that this is true in the old way of doing things with the paper-based workflows?
I would say like definitely 30% doesn't surprise me, but I'm surprised it's not even higher because when I look back at my traditional, I shouldn't say my traditional practice, it's not traditional now, but when I look back at those traditional days, that's all we were doing. We were bugging clients for bank statements and we were, filing and collating and getting paper cuts. And it was just, that was bookkeeping. And that's not what the clients valued. So I'm surprised it's not more than 30%, just because I know that I spent a lot more than 30% of my time doing paper,
Yeah,
just managing paper.
I can imagine. And so would you say that post adoption of the cloud accounting technology, you've been able to chip away at that number?
Yeah, I don't manage paper at all. I tell my clients and my prospects right off the bat, I'm too posh for paper. Like I will not handle your paper. We literally set those expectations up front for them to use technology, and we don't manage paper, we manage data, which is far more, I don't want to use the word playable, but it's far more resourceful and accurate and functionable. You can get the process done as opposed to just managing the form it comes in.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Another key stat that I want to throw by you is it's estimated that roughly 25% of an office space is dedicated to the storage of paper documents. Um,
That's
is
expensive.
this something that you feel that's been eliminated with these technologies?
I had an absolute field day the day we got rid of our last filing cabinet. Like we had a celebration. We had an absolute celebration when we got rid of our last filing cabinet. So 25%, I can definitely see that. If it's a small business, it's probably not 25% of their environment. They're probably putting it in a storage locker, but that still
Yeah.
costs money. If it's an accounting firm, I'm surprised it's not more than that. I'll be honest with you, because you think of the retention periods that's required by governing agencies to retain documentation. Um, yeah, and that's expensive. I know with one client, that was the main reason for them going to the cloud. Like, out of all the other benefits of cloud technology, real-time data, ease of use, working as a team, it was the darn banker's boxes being kept in his kitchen.
Hmm.
Is the reason why he was more interested in adopting cloud technology.
That makes a ton of sense. And it's a good segue to my next question. So, considering the fact that you could utilize these technologies to eliminate paper from your workflows, when it comes to dealing with government agencies, for Canada, it's the Canada Revenue Agency, for the United
Mhm.
States, it's the IRS. From a digital document perspective, have you ever gone through an audit? And what has the government agency's response been to providing digital documents in the event that an audit were to take place?
Absolutely. So I'm not quite familiar with the IRS side, so I'm sure
I
there's still.
could jump into that
Pardon?
after. I could jump into that after.
Okay, good. On the Canadian side, obviously there's still a little bit of a gray area because of how how'd you say, the code was written way before cloud technology. So, but working with auditors as it relates to either an audit that we've had to take on because a client needed assistance with that, or just a review. Sometimes you win the lucky lottery and Canada Revenue Agency wants to just, look at your stuff. Because of the online systems, the portal is in place with Canada Revenue Agency, we're able to download the documentation and give it to them within minutes. The same thing with having to look at the general transactions. The supporting documentation is behind each entry. So we don't have to go looking for stuff, which is a big pain point for me. As a mom of three, I hate looking for stuff. So, being able to really respond back to an auditor with CRA for whatever reason, we've been able to move successfully through audits because of that.
Fantastic. And I'd say equally in talking to thousands of partners in the United States, it's a very similar process and a similar workflow.
Mhm.
Generally speaking, the IRS does accept clear digital versions of documents in the event of an audit, so you can rest assured that these solutions obviously enable for a more seamless audit experience, if a seamless audit experience could ever even exist in the first place. That's probably an oxymoron. Great. Okay, so thanks so much for going through the workflow, talking about a little bit of the benefits. But now I'd be interested to jump into a little bit of the tactical tips for using both Hubdoc and Fujitsu.
Mhm.
So as you know, adopting hardware can be challenging, especially as it relates to your clients. There's a few components there, but I'll start off with an easy question. How do you introduce tools like Hubdoc and Fujitsu ScanSnap to your clients when you're beginning the engagement?
Absolutely. Well, for me, we handle client care in a completely different manner. So, as opposed to saying, this is how you're going to do things, this is our process, this is our cookie cutter approach, we do handle things a little differently. We listen to the client's pain points. So that way, we're able to ensure that we are recommending the right products for what they need. And we can draw back on that conversation in their own words of things that they are identifying as being a pain point. And by the way, anytime you hear a pain point, that's a value point for you as an accounting professional to capitalize that and really be the hero for that client. So some of the tactical ways that we have those conversations is going through that listening process and then following up with the tech stack that we know will work for them. And so in cases like, I'm just going to pull up the restaurant industry again, or we could do a nonprofit, but I'll just try and keep it simple. So, when they bring up the conversation that it is so darn difficult to make sure they have all of their paperwork in a accordion file and courier it to their bookkeeper, ew. That's a pain point, right? So we're able to articulate the benefits of how a hardware solution at their location will help, and us being able to get the information digitally. The next question is always the how. Well, I don't know how to set up the hardware, or I'm not comfortable in the how. And that's where you get to shine as an accounting professional by using technology yet again to install the hardware at the client's location. So would you like me to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I'll jump into the next
Sure.
slide, but I think that's a
Okay.
really great point in terms
Mhm,
of uh, installation of hardware, onboarding and setup, implementation.
mhm.
All these things are another way to demonstrate value, especially
Absolutely.
for small businesses that are a little bit less technologically savvy.
Hmm.
Um, but we'll jump into the next slide so that we could talk about installation of the hardware and Hubdoc. And then I have a
Sure.
few other questions that are coming up in the chat that are
Okay.
around purchasing the hardware.
Oh, yeah.
Where does
Okay.
the cost live, so on and so forth, that I'm interested in jumping to. But
Sure.
let's talk a little bit about implementation. So implementation of Hubdoc and Fujitsu ScanSnap, you have a standard operating procedure that I'm sure
Mhm.
everybody here would like to hear about. So I'm just going to pass the mic here to you and let you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we love standard operating procedures. I came from an ISO manufacturing environment, so everybody just kind of got a chill down their back. I'm sure if anybody's familiar with ISO. So we love our standard operating procedures. It's great to revert back to how would you say technology to install it? So first of all, like we have some clients across Canada, right? Like we have them in the Yukon and I'm in Ontario. There's no way I'm going to get on a plane to install a Fujitsu ScanSnap in the Yukon, first of all, in the middle of winter. That's just not going to happen. So I have to think outside of the box and I have to be ingenious. So we'll talk about maybe some of those questions in a minute that are coming there because that will solve that. How do you do it and all that stuff. But once the hardware is at the client's location, there's a couple of things you should consider, and that is using an email alias. It works out well for using Hubdoc in general, and it's the same thing you would use for the ScanSnap home as well. I believe I'm saying that right. Vaughn, maybe you can chirp in the chat section or the Q&A if I haven't said that correctly. But you just pick which region. It's very similar. The, ScanSnap is used globally. So in this case, it's North America. Select simply which computer it's being connected with. So if it's Windows or Mac, I'm a Mac girl personally. Okay, nothing wrong against my Windows friends, but it does work with Mac. It works beautifully. What's nice, once you do the download and the initial sync, the hardware, the scanner itself can actually be disconnected from the computer and used within Wi-Fi range. Make sure it's within the Wi-Fi range, please, or the access point range, anywhere at the client's location. And after setting up the password and account and stuff like that, you're ready to go once you integrate it with Hubdoc. It's a really streamlined process. The Fujitsu ScanSnap is really intuitive. Depending on which model you have, it will indicate if you're connected to Wi-Fi or not. And I would always recommend running a test with your clients first before going live with the product. Make sure everything's rolling into Hubdoc just fine. If I can provide any word of caution, the the most the everyone always asks, so what's the biggest problem you've had using this workflow? And yes, there are problems. You would be surprised. The biggest problem I have had is not the hardware, it's not Hubdoc, it's people remembering their Wi-Fi password. So you do need to connect to the Wi-Fi network. Make sure your clients know or remember their Wi-Fi password before you sit down and install this for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, right? Because that's in and of effect, the key benefit of Fujitsu ScanSnap Cloud is that it connects to a wireless network and you can upload paper documents into Hubdoc from anywhere.
Mhm.
So uh, understanding the Wi-Fi password is incredibly important within that workflow. So I'm going to
A
jump
little bit
into
important.
I'm going to jump into a question that we get quite a bit, and this is especially relevant for practitioners like yourself.
Mhm.
Assuming that you've identified the pain points for your client and that you believe Fujitsu
Mhm.
ScanSnap can solve that key pain point,
Mhm.
who purchases the hardware?
Oh yeah. I guess it comes down to your own way of how you want to handle your practice, right? So for us, we believe strongly in client care and we vet our clients really well before they have, I don't want to say the privilege of working with us. It sounds a little snotty, but it's honestly the truth. We care so much about our clients that we want to make sure that we are absolutely attracting the best. So we do quite a bit of vetting and through this process, and there is a whole prospecting stage and whatnot that takes place, which is a whole nother webinar in its own. But to quickly answer that question, we buy the scanner.
Mm.
We buy the scanner and we have it drop shipped to their location. Now, could they buy it? Absolutely. But as part of our customer service and part of what we like to deliver as an accounting professional is we're taking away the pain. We don't want to add tasks to the customer. And frankly, we don't want them buying the wrong one. We want them to buy the right piece of hardware, which is one of the reasons why we buy it. Some people naturally ask, well, what if the client engagement ends? What happens to the scanner? Listen, I'll be frank with you. The clients we attract are high value clients. The scanner itself, the price of it is actually irrelevant when we think of the entire scope. But if that became an issue, you could write it into your engagement. If you're using something like Practice Ignition, write it in that the scanner is to be returned to you. How it actually gets returned to you, that's another problem in its own. But that's basically how we handle it. We buy it, we install it.
That makes sense. And
Hmm.
I love the installation and the onboarding process. Many of the practices that we work with, and Jenny, you and I have talked about this before. Um, there's obviously some onboarding sessions that can be done
Hmm.
at the beginning of the engagement. But one of the things that I like, and probably as a marketer, I like it because of the neat branding, but it's a connectivity session where the first session is about connecting people to their Fujitsu ScanSnap, connecting all of the connections within their Hubdoc account, connecting their bank feed in their general ledger software, so whether that's QuickBooks Online or Xero. And that, again, is another opportunity for the practice, accountant or bookkeeper, to demonstrate value for their clients, because right then and there, you're seen quite quickly as the technology expert, the one that's like, technology is just an enabler. It is
Hmm.
not the solution. It is an enabler to the solution. The accountants and bookkeepers and the practitioners that are implementing these solutions are really where the value is coming from.
Hmm.
And I love how we keep coming back to that at the beginning of the client engagement.
Is so true, Geoffrey. These are tools. These will never replace our independent thought or that client care perspective. These are tools, right? And to think also, some people might be thinking to install this, you need to physically go to the client's location. And maybe that is true. If you have clients localized within your town or area, I think that's a great idea to do that. Unfortunately, we don't have the option to do that. Like I said, we have like literally provinces apart with clients. So we need to be inventive. And for us, we leverage technology like Zoom, in which we have a virtual call. You see how Geoffrey and Jennifer, we're together like this. We can do a screen share. I can take remote control of the client's computer, make sure everything's connected. We can look at how the data is being processed through the Hubdoc portal, show them what it looks like in Xero or QuickBooks Online. And it's a great way to provide that extra value and that trust that your customers are looking for.
Completely agree. Awesome. So on to next steps before we tackle some of the audience questions. But if you're new to Hubdoc, we want to make sure that you have the resources available so that you could yourself become a Hubdoc expert, get set up, and in the event that you want to onboard your clients, be that one point of contact. So we do have free online certification courses that show you how to use Hubdoc with tools like Xero, QuickBooks Online, Bill.com. It comes with a badge that you can display on your website. It's as simple as clicking learn.hubdoc.com to take advantage of the certification course. In addition to that, if you're an accounting or bookkeeping practice, you qualify for a free partner account for your practice. So not only do you have the resources to learn how to use Hubdoc, you have a free account to use Hubdoc for your practice so that you can get up and running, understand how to use the product before you would bring on any of your clients.
That's definitely golden advice if I can capitalize on that. Take your practice through the process first.
Absolutely. And what we've seen time and time again is that practices that use these technologies for
Mhm.
their own firm to manage their own books tend to have an easier time when they start to onboard their clients.
Mhm.
In addition to that, we want to talk about a special Fujitsu ScanSnap discount offer for Hubdoc partners. Obviously we work closely with Fujitsu to bring you deep product integrations, but we're also working closely to provide you guys with some great valuable offers. So this is the link to get access to those offers in the event that you choose to purchase these scanners for your clients. I highly recommend checking it out. You'll see it in the GoToWebinar chat, and we'll also send it in the follow-up email. So no need to furiously type away. We'll give you quick and easy access so that you can have a look at what these offers are. And in the event that you want to start to implement Fujitsu, we're making it as easy as possible for you. Okay, great. So now on to our audience questions. I'm going to have a quick look at the chat and then pass off a few questions for you. So first question, Jenny, is, oh, this is an interesting one. So we've been talking a lot about technologies and how it enables you to do other things, provide higher value to your clients, evolve your practice, to take on virtual staff, so on and so forth. But we have a question from Nicole, and the question is, how did you know when it was time to add virtual staff? And where did you go to find them?
Oh yeah, really good question. Oh my goodness, that is a really good question. So I would say, as a practice owner, when you start seeing that you're working more in the business as opposed to on the business. So if you don't have time to promote your business, if you don't have time to learn technology, if you don't have time to step away from your office and take a vacation with your family or go to a conference to learn, it's time to look at getting some help. And one can determine that in different ways, getting help, but I mean that authentically. It's time to think about having somebody work with you and deliver excellent customer service. Is it an easy journey? No. Finding people in our space is tricky, I find, especially with the emerging technologies that we have. So really finding someone that's willing to learn. Sometimes it's not the fact that maybe they don't know Xero or QuickBooks Online or Hubdoc or know anything about that, but their willingness and drive to learn is really what you should be capitalizing on, and being able to provide effective training. And that's when your standard operating procedures are key, because you explain how you want things done. Now, the last part of that question is the hardest one. Where do you find them? I wish I had a well where I could just just magically give people jobs and connect practitioners. I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard. For me, this sounds completely weird, I know, but where do I want to find people that know online technology? Well, I look online. And how I look online is through social media. And I know that sounds strange, right? So I'm looking for the active new graduates from university or colleges and following them throughout their little journey and communicating with them, maybe mentoring them along the way about a couple of things. I'm looking for younger bookkeepers or newer bookkeepers that are adopting to change, or established individuals that are looking to make a change as well. So really, I look online. Is there a website you can go to get a bunch of people that meet your specific needs? There's lots of resources out there for outsourcing and all that kind of stuff. If that's your thing, that's fine. That just that happens not to be ours. We look to build a really strong relationship with a team member, and how we find them is online in social networks. And for us, it's important that it's within the country that we are servicing, respectfully.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Thank you. Another question from Leonard. How do you handle medical and T-slips at tax time?
Ooh, okay. So Leonard, I didn't finish the rest of that story. We kicked taxes to the curb. So I'll tell you how we did it. And so right now, we're leveraging complete managed services for high value clients. So we decided that tax for us was a big disruptor compared to the profitability. So we decided to move forward with managed services and building clean data for our customers. But how we handled it when we were still in that state of flux, remember that teeter-totter stage I was telling you about? So in that point, we did have clients that were dropping off paperwork still for taxes. But what we did is we put them through the scanner right away. So we had an electronic image. That was really the best way to do it. I mean, sure, there's other approaches you can take, Leonard. There's several different secure methods for individuals to share files with you online. I would just suggest that you make sure you do your research to make sure it is a secure portal that you're choosing, something that actually has encryption, and then be able to leverage that within your tax software that you're using.
Awesome. So next question is from Claire. Jennie, have you used Carbon or Zapier? If so, thoughts on if they've made your processes easier?
Yeah, there's so much technology that's out there, and we have dabbled with Carbon, we have dabbled with Zapier. You'll find with your practice that you kind of mold and shift to different apps depending on what works well for you. Carbon is a great application when we did our review testing for it that helps you get tasks out of email. So if you have clients or if you have actionables that are always being emailed to you, Carbon's really good at turning that into a workflow per client, and it takes away from that searching thing. Remember I said as a mom of three, I hate searching for things. So that's what really appeals to me about Carbon. Zapier or Zapier, I know some people are, it's like tomato. I don't know what to call it. People keep correct me and then they say it's something else and I get all confused. So I'm
That's better
sorry.
than the Hubdoc and hot dog.
Hubdocs? Hubdoc. Yeah, I know what they're talking about. But yeah. So when we've had some success. I prefer to use Zapier for social media and CRM related stuff. Financial data, I'm still personally, and I'm willing for anybody to teach me differently, finding it difficult for it to always have stable connections. So I try and really leverage core apps with core integrations. So I know that the financial data, anyways, is always being pushed to where I want it to go. But yeah, there's lots of workflow apps that are out there, and some of them are even free, like Asana is great. Zero
Yeah.
Practice Manager has it as well. Um, there's some, we personally, I'll let you know a little secret sauce. We use Smart Sheets, and it's great.
Awesome.
Smart
We
Sheets
use
really
Asana.
cute. Tomato.
Yeah. Our whole marketing team runs on Asana. Victoria and Carly are sitting here smiling the second that you said it, Jennie.
Yeah, it's great. It's cheap and cheerful. It works. So it comes down to what you need and does it do the job you expect it to do? And if so, then keep it.
Absolutely. So the next question is from Petra. What are the benefits of using Hubdoc with ScanSnap versus other scanners? I can just add real quick here. I think that the primary benefit is the direct integration, Fujitsu ScanSnap Cloud. Because of that, to Jennie's point earlier, you can just feed in the documents, and once the documents show up into Hubdoc, Hubdoc has leading technologies like machine learning and optical character recognition that will extract all the key data for you and make the documents actionable for you to post them onwards into a general ledger software or payment processing solution to reconcile or automate payment processing. Jennie, would you say that's generally accurate?
It's spot on, because when we started using Hubdoc, like I said, we were still using that older scanner, that S510, and there's magic in the direct integration that Geoffrey's talking about. So what I mean specifically is a client, 4 hours away or 10 hours away, whatever you want to say, puts a document through, hits a button. I can see it already processing in Hubdoc. The OCR technology is really quick. I mean, obviously, if it's a handwritten invoice, the OCR is going to have a challenge. But I can see it right away, process it into the financial management system, let's say it's Xero, and then make a bill payment. Now, you guys would use Bill.com. I would use Pluto, and money can go out the door, all within like 5 minutes. So there's something to be said about that core integration. Else, what you are doing is you are using a scanner whether it's Fujitsu or not, and you're probably manually pulling it over and putting it into Hubdoc through the web portal, which if you have time to do that, I think that's great. But I would think that you're spending far more of your own emotional and financial capital doing that than just buying the scanner and the integration in the first place. Just saying.
Yeah, it's a really great point. And also there's something to be said about image quality, right? If it goes through a scanner, higher
Yeah.
likelihood that it's higher quality image for Hubdoc's technologies to more accurately extract all the information.
Yeah, Fujitsu has a great, amazing technology with its scanner where it stops bleed through and it
Mm.
can clear up an image. So, like, we've taken some really kind of receipts and have had a lot of good luck with it.
That's a great segue to the next question from Mario. How well
Okay.
does this ScanSnap technology handle odd size docs or
Oh,
wrinkled docs? I can
oh,
jump into the odd
yeah,
size docs, and
sure.
Jenny, if you can talk to the wrinkled docs, but from an odd size perspective, and Vaughn is making sure that I capture everything here, but it's a best in class business reader. You
Hmm.
could have a bunch of mixed size documents. It doesn't really matter, receipts, bills, hard cards, business cards, so on and so forth. So in terms of odd size documents, more likely than not, the Fujitsu scanner is going to be able to process them. And then
Hmm.
Jenny, do you want to talk to wrinkled documents? Because wrinkled
Sure.
documents is probably something that you have experience with every day.
Yeah. I mean, typically with my clients is, first of all, you need to take a little proactive measures too, right? So
Yeah.
train the clients properly in the first place not to wrinkle up their receipts. Maybe just do that. But we've had to do some cleanup files. Actually, we did one cleanup file that was 2 years behind using the Fujitsu scanner and Hubdoc. But some of the receipts were like they were torn in the corner where we needed to scan it. They were wrinkled. I mean, you can try and iron them out. Never apply heat to a thermal paper receipt, by the way. I think we can all put two and two together for what that happens. Just like you don't highlight it. So here's a quick little tip, and we also make sure our clients know this when the scanner is at their location, is get a two-sided plastic sleeve. So does anybody know what I'm like a two sheets of plastic go together? It's kind of like static. You put the receipt in the
Yes.
middle of it, and then you scan it, and it just works beautifully. So that's a Jenny tip. You get that free
If it is
charge
too
today.
wrinkled. That's a good tip. That's a great tip.
It's thinking outside of the box.
So Jenny, I'm going to ask one more question before we jump into the raffle and announce the winner. But this question is from Claire, and it says Jenny or Geoffrey. But I think it would be fun to do Jenny and Geoffrey. I'll let you go first, and then I'll jump in after.
Okay.
If I could tell a client the best thing about Hubdoc, how can I hook my client with a few simple words?
Wow, what a great question.
It's a really good one.
Easy to get me documents. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe not the
So
most professional way to say it, but that's the biggest pain point we've heard from clients is just getting documents to my bookkeeper. So it makes it easy to get documents to me.
no question. And I think what's really, so I'll talk about it from the business perspective and the quote unquote business owner perspective.
Hmm.
Uh, I have a corporate credit card, and it is my job every time I have a business transaction to submit a receipt and or a bill to Hubdoc so that our finance team could process it, code it, and reconcile it. The challenge is I pass my credit card off quite a bit to other members of the team to make business purchases, so on and so forth. So I don't always have access to the receipts. And every end of month, I get an email or I get a Slack message, which is our internal communication tool, that I'm missing 10 to 15 documents. And then I have to spend an hour to 2 hours tracking those down as the business, as a quote unquote business owner, which I find to be, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, especially like as a marketer, I want to do marketing things. I don't want to be working on the admin. So from a business owner perspective or a client perspective, utilizing tools like Hubdoc significantly reduces their monthly admin time as it relates to their financials, allowing them to spend more time on their business. Would you say that that's fairly accurate, Jenny?
Yeah, exactly. It takes away pain. And it allows them to focus not on bookkeeping, because that's what they want to offload. They don't want to be assembling documents. They don't want to be looking to download documents from the bank and whatnot. They want to focus on, if they're a chef, in the kitchen, if they're a plumber, doing plumbing work, if they're, they want to focus on what they do and not what they've paid you to do.
And I see that Mario also added a suggestion as an answer to this question. Get rid of all your paper receipts, especially credit card receipts. My clients love that. So thanks for the tip, Mario.
Yes.
Great. Now on to the winner of the ScanSnap. So I'm gonna drum roll. This is a very sad drum roll, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But today's winner is Dustin Wheeler. So Dustin, congratulations. We will be communicating with you shortly to work out shipping arrangements, but congratulations for today's win. And we just want to also say thank you to everybody else that took the time to join us today. Jennie, thank you so much for providing all of your wonderful insights. As always, it's such a pleasure to chat and to hear about your journey and to be able to extend those learning and those experiences to the broader community. So thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you to Vaughn, Carly, and Victoria for managing the chat. And yet again, this has been a lot of fun. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And we hope that everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye.